Welcome to the Winnipeg Sports Talk post-game report. Michael Remis here in the host chair. The Winnipeg Jets losing 3-2 to the Montreal Canadiens in overtime at Canada Life Centre here on Monday night. To break it all down, talk about all the details, happy to bring in Connor Hrabchak, who's there in the press box. Connor, overall impressions of the loss here.
Initial thoughts, there are a lot of Canadiens fans in the building tonight. There's a lot of red. Obviously, one of the biggest markets in the league, and that's obviously going to happen. But a lot of Canadiens fans, they all went home happy, 3-2 win. And Justin Barron with the OT winner. What a game from him in the Barron Bowl comes away with the OT winner. Just kind of poetic.
Yeah, the Winnipeg Jets fall to Montreal for the second time this season. 0-2. Two losses in extra time. As you mentioned, the Barron Bowl, Justin scoring the winner for Montreal and Morgan on the Winnipeg Jets. I got to say, coming into the game tonight, Monday, the Jets were on a roll. Statement games against LA, against Colorado on Saturday. They were big favorites tonight. You had to feel good coming in, but Montreal is always, they've been tough for the Jets.
They've had their number the past couple of years, and even this year. I mean, Montreal has now beaten Winnipeg twice. First one was in a shootout. Lauren Brossoit got the start in that one. Connor Hrabchak starts tonight, and they win in the extra frame. That's just the Jets got 2 points out of these two losses, but against one of the biggest markets in the NHL, you definitely want to come away with the win on home ice.
In the first period, you kind of had to realize, hey, you know what? They just had two emotional games, the Jets, in LA. And then Colorado on Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada. I know this is Monday Sportsnet national broadcast, but doesn't really have the same emotion against an Eastern Conference team who's at the bottom of the standings, even if you did lose to them twice. And that first period, I mean, do we have anything to talk about from it? I mean, 11 combined shots on goal, and on the broadcast, they're like, "Here's your highlight from the first period: a shot from the outside." Anything to say about that slow first period?
No, I mean, it was just a nothing period. And like you said, I think it was the carryover from having two emotional wins and then playing a weekday game against an Eastern Conference opponent. Yeah, it's the Montreal Canadiens, but it was a letdown spot for Winnipeg. And then it kind of picked up in the second period. The third period is when I thought this game really was at its best, and obviously into overtime. But that first period, nothing from me to talk about. I don't know if you have any notes, but yeah, I remember sitting back at the end of the first and thinking, I can't remember one thing that happened. I just genuinely can't. It was just absolutely nothing, period.
Yeah, it took a while, I think, for them to get into it. There was definitely some intensity, some urgency from the Jets in the third period, but a bit of a feeling out process there. Heading into the second period, the Jets, they did get a power play, didn't take advantage of it, and that was kind of the story of the game for the Jets, and that's the story been for the last while, that they just can't seem to score with the man advantage. The Rick Bowness talked about it after. I think Murat was asking him. When they get into a spot where Mark Scheifele is just there standing still, stick handling, you can almost see it slow down, and they're really not able to generate anything. And they did, they had an opportunity early in the second, but did not score on it.
Yeah, the power play. I mean, it's been just terrible the past couple of weeks. I mean, you lose Kyle Connor. He's your leading goal scorer, and a lot of the power play got funneled through him on that one-timer. But right now, it's just stagnant. Mark Scheifele, like you said, just stands there and looks, makes a low percentage pass. It gets picked off. It feels like we're seeing the same movie every single time. The Jets have the man advantage. And it cost them in this game. Rick Bowness said so after the fact. It's another game where special teams cost them. Montreal had two power play goals. One of them came in overtime, and Winnipeg failed to convert on their opportunities. And it's a game where it's a team like Montreal where you have to put them away with your power play. You can win the game with special teams, and the Jets failed to do that.
Yeah, the Jets 1 for 16 on the power play in the last 5, 0 for 2 tonight. Montreal capitalizes on 2 of theirs, including the winner in overtime. They're 2 for 3. And when the Jets lose, it's been, a lot of it special teams where either, the penalty kill is not going or the power play is not going. And on tonight, none of them were going, but I didn't think they got outplayed horribly. And I thought the 2 goals Montreal scored were pretty fluky goals. The Jets, they don't get the score on the power play, and Montreal kicks off the scoring 5 minutes in. Shot goes in off Hellebuyck's shoulder, then off the Montreal player and in. Like, what can you say about that? It's just bad luck. Hellebuyck makes the save, and it goes off a guy's body. Bottom line is Montreal scored first, and they got a 1-0 lead.
Yep. You said it best. I mean, it doesn't matter how it went in. It went in, and Josh Anderson was the guy driving to the net, hit him in the skate. Wasn't a kicking motion, and it's a good goal. And honestly, you couldn't really say at the time that Winnipeg didn't deserve that. They were getting outplayed by Montreal in this game against a lesser opponent at home. You shouldn't be getting outplayed the way they did, especially in that second period. And then Montreal scores a goal, and it feels pretty on brand because Jets got outplayed, like I said, and they didn't really deserve to be up. So a bad bounce goes the opposite way. So be it. They end up crawling back in the third. But yeah, a lucky goal for sure. And then Montreal's second goal, I'm sure we'll get into it. A bit of controversy added there. But yeah, unlucky first goal.
Yeah, the shots that we mentioned, Winnipeg 6-5 in the first, overall in the second, Montreal 14-11. They did have a bit of a gap. That gap closed with the Jets. They did finish strong in the third period, but throughout the second, not too many chances. Velarde had a weak shot off an Ehlers zone entry, and it was right after Josh Anderson told Ehlers to sit down with a nice body check. About 10 minutes in, Nino Niederreiter, took a puck to, groin, midsection, stomach. He had to leave. I think he ended up okay. That was one of the first incidents where a Jet got hit by a puck. Josh Morrissey took one in the face later. We'll get into that in the third period discussion. Morgan Barron had a chance there. And yeah, with 8 minutes left, shots were even, but Brendan Dillon, he tries to go after Jake Evans, and I think there was some, boos from Jets fans towards Jake Evans and from the many Montreal fans there towards Mark Scheifele, but he goes for a big hit, misses, and gets called for a trip. What was the arena atmosphere like with all the Montreal fans towards Mark Scheifele and Jake Evans there?
There are definitely a smattering of boos headed their way. The most conflicting part for me was the "Go Jets Go" and "Go Habs Go." The chants are so similar, but when half of the arena is chanting one of them and half is chanting the other, it just sounds just awful. It just you couldn't tell what the fans were saying. You could hear "go" and "go," but in the middle it was just, you couldn't really tell. But it was a great atmosphere. I think attendance was in the mid 13,000s for this game, and a lot of that was Montreal fans. But hey, it made for a good atmosphere, it made for a good back and forth. Obviously, Montreal got the win, so all those fans went home happy. But yeah, the boos, the chants going back and forth, the cheering when Brendan Dillon takes a tripping penalty, or the boos when Montreal got called for a bad penalty in their fans' eyes. I thought the atmosphere was fantastic, and anytime an Original Six team comes in, that's how it's going to be.
There were a couple of controversial moments in the game that resulted in goals. This was the first one. So Josh Anderson catches the puck, throws it to Christian Dvorak, and Dvorak takes it on his stick and hits it in. It's a goal. They reviewed it, and they still called it a goal. And then the Jets challenge, which I thought was interesting because I was under the impression they had already reviewed it and still called it a goal. Part of me wants to say this is a goal. You want to see goals happen, and I think once they called it a goal, I didn't think there was any chance they were going to overturn it. But the play to me is, Anderson takes a step forward after he catches it and basically throws it. And I think the part where, maybe if it grazed someone's stick before getting to Dvorak's stick is kind of irrelevant. Like, it reminds me of on a delayed penalty, you have to have control for them to whistle it down. This was, he threw it on Dvorak's stick in the slot. And I think the spirit of the rules, someone touches it, it negates that it was a hand pass. But I think this very clearly was, and it was, the way it was called was unfortunate for the Jets. And once they ruled it, I didn't think that they were going to overturn it, but I get Rick Bowness supporting his goalie here, because Hrabchak, he's got strong convictions on what he sees, and you don't want to be like, no, Connor, you're wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, I fully support as well Rick Bowness defending his goalie in the postgame there. They showed an angle on the TVs here in the press box. It wasn't from the side Josh Anderson was on, but from the side Christian Dvorak was on. It was almost like the camera was above the Montreal Canadiens bench, just to give some context as to where the angle was from. They showed that on the broadcast, and I thought, from looking at the TVs in here, that angle showed that Anderson caught it and threw it, and it didn't hit anyone's stick and went right to Dvorak, and he tapped it in. Clearly, the refs have every angle at their disposal, and they have that one, and they can super zoom in. But it was a long review. I think it was over 7 minutes that the refs were looking at this. Players actually started skating and warming back up because the review was taking so long. And then at that point, they kind of just defer to whatever the call on the ice was, and that was a good goal. But from the angle I saw, I'm going to have to go home and search it up and maybe slow it down a ton. But that angle showed to me that they got this call wrong. But again, there were angles where you can really tell it was inconclusive, and they ultimately went with the call on the ice.
Yeah, I think it was inconclusive, and they had to go with the call. It was interesting on the broadcast. These guys on the broadcast are supposed to talk about it. Anson Carter's like, well, they called it a goal, so it doesn't matter what we think. I'm like, well, I think it kind of doesn't matter. That's why I'm watching, because I want to see what you guys have to say. And I don't know, I think just the spirit of the rule, I think it was a hand pass. I mean, Hrabchak spoke after that he thought Anderson was just going to put it down, and he was going to try to poke check. But Anderson took it, grabbed it, took a step forward, and threw it. And I don't think he was trying to throw it at Christian Dvorak's stick, or maybe he was. I don't know. I think he was trying to put it on his own stick, but take that extra second. So certainly a controversial play, but Montreal's up 2-0 on two pretty fluky goals, and you have to wonder, are the Jets going to be able to find a gear to keep themselves in the game?
Yeah, and it was 2-0 at that point, like you said. Montreal just playing better than the Jets at this point. I thought the Jets had a pretty brutal second period in terms of their effort levels and physicality. I thought Montreal was the more physical team. And then Gabriel Vilardi at the end of the second period there with a gorgeous goal, gave the Jets life. Vilardi stays hot. He's got 5 goals in his last 5 games. And then we talked on Monday's show of Winnipeg Sports Talk about the Macarena. It got played in here. I was looking around for people dancing. There wasn't many because the Jets were still losing. But yeah, great play. A great play from Vilardi, which kept the Jets in it at that point going into the second period, in a period where I thought the Jets got dominated, at least in the physicality department.
Yeah, they were laying the ball. I thought they were trying to make Nick Ehlers pay. I mentioned he got hit over the middle earlier by Josh Anderson, and it was on that play. That top line, we hadn't seen a lot of it, but they had some great possession there. Mark Scheifele had a chance. Ehlers, he shoots it wide, and Gabe Vilardi he's got really quick hands. And you saw that on the first goal on Saturday, skate to stick and in. On the second goal, he's big in front. Some guys, like me, if I would just slap it into the goalie, but he deked around the Colorado goalie, and here he is with the quick hands at a tough angle, side of the net, and in, and you really like what he brings. And every time Gabe Vilardi scores, people are going to be saying, "Oh, what's PLD up to?" Well, Gabe Vilardi just scored his 5th goal of the season tonight. He's now got 7 points in his last 3, and who's also got 5 goals? Pierre-Luc Dubois, and he's played 27 games, and Gabe Vilardi has not played 27 games. He's played 12. He's played 12 games.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is role. I mean, Dubois is playing third line center, and I don't know if he's getting the top minutes that Vilardi is, but even still, I mean, 27 games to 12 games. This trade, the discussion, we thought the Dubois-Laine discussion was never going to end. I think it's going to be the Dubois-Vilardi discussion now, and he's on a bit of a tear here. 3-game goal streak, led the team, and I was happy to see, hear Macarena being played. But yeah, I mean, they're still down 2-1, but I thought this was the WST turning point for the Jets. Gave them some life. You're heading into the third now, down 2-1 instead of 2-0, and you're only down a goal. You're not down 2, and it was absolutely huge. And they did get outshot there in the second, but I think the Jets, found their energy in the third and put the pressure on Montreal. And we talked about special teams. Montreal, they just scored a power play goal. And now the Jets turn for another power play. Minute in, Justin Barron takes a penalty. And, the Jets have a power play and they really do nothing with it there. And it's kind of more of the same in the third period. And that was a chance where, hey, you just scored, you got all the momentum, and you have a power play, you can tie this thing up, and they're not able to.
Yeah, and it was kind of a momentum killer. I mean, Cole Perfetti's goal in the middle of the third, he's in a good spot. You can attribute that to his IQ and being in the right spot for that rebound. But I didn't think the Jets really had much going for them in this third period until the Perfetti goal. And then this game kind of got flipped upside down and was a little more competitive. But that power play was a big reason. You get all that energy, you draw a penalty early in the third period, you have a chance to tie the game right there. And your power play doesn't generate next to anything. It can be classified as a momentum killer. I don't know if that was really the case in this game because the Jets did score the next goal in the game. But yeah, if the power play keeps looking like that, it'll keep killing the momentum in games where they're trying to stage a comeback.
Yeah, and like momentum killer. No, where's the number 1 for 16 on the power play in the last 5, and it's tough to win games when your power play when you're not taking advantage of your opportunities. And they had a big one there, they didn't, but hey, they played hard and had some chances. The big moment here, and we'll see what effects it has going forward. But Josh Morrissey, has a puck riding up. But Nick Suzuki takes a shot. Puck rides up on a stick and hits Morrissey, thankfully, in the cheek, nowhere near the eye. Huge gash. Went off, got stitches. He came back pretty quickly. I was shocked he didn't have a cage on or a bubble. I mean, what a warrior this guy coming right out. I mean, that could be looking rough in a couple days here. They got to play again Wednesday. You wonder if he is going to put on the bird cage there for Wednesday. Got to protect the face. Thankfully, he was okay. I think a scary moment for some of the guys. And and then here's the goal. Nemestikov gets a shot on net, and Perfetti goes to the right spot and taps it in. It was just a nice board battle there from Alex Iafallo, and Perfetti helping out, gets it to the point. And Nemestikov, a bit further out than the goal he scored on Saturday. But again, Cole Perfetti, for a small guy, he knows how to get to the right spots in front of the net.
Yeah, and like I said, you can attribute that to his hockey IQ. There's an angle from behind the net where it shows him, winning that board battle, fishing the puck out and getting it to Nemestikov, and then he kind of wiggles his way to the back post, evading Sean Monahan, who's checking him. And again, the puck is lucky, but Montreal got a lucky goal in this one. But that puck, the rebound bounces right to Perfetti. It could have gone anywhere else, but right on his tape, makes no mistake, and he gets his 10th of the year. Did have a 6-game goal drought. I don't think many people were worried about that yet. It wasn't on the level of maybe an Alex Iafallo, who had 18 games without a goal. But it's still nice to see Perfetti scoring, especially away from Nikolai Ehlers. I thought that line has looked a little worse game by game without Ehlers on it. Obviously, Ehlers, Scheifele, and Velarde, the top line is playing fantastic, so you can't break them up. But it was nice to see the production follow, even though Ehlers is not on Perfetti's wing.
Yeah, it's Perfetti's 10th goal of the season, a career high in his young career rookie season last year, cut short by injury, where I thought he was on his way to a Calder nomination. And I thought really at the end, the refs put away their whistles until they didn't. The top line was out there. Nikolai Ehlers. I posted this on my own Twitter account. He burned David Savard, and Savard reaches out with the free hand and grabs him, slows him up just enough. I think it was the end of his shift, so I don't know if he had it to get in, but I thought that was a call, and that leads up later on. The Jets end up icing it on that top line's next shift. Defensive zone faceoff. Nikolai Ehlers he was trying to cover the point. He gets pushed off of his line. He tries to get back and dives and trips the Montreal defenseman, and you take a late penalty. And that's a tough break. And I always say nothing good can come out of diving, whether it's when you're playing defense. And Ehlers very, very not happy after, and it was certainly a key point in the game for sure.
Yeah, and what I saw, I don't know if this is accurate or not because we didn't talk to Nikolai Ehlers in the post game, but I thought he was pointing, and where his anger came from was on a missed interference call in the zone off that faceoff. I don't think he was really arguing the call itself, because you couldn't really argue that. I mean, you dive right into a guy's legs. That's textbook tripping, no matter what point of the game it's at. But it's the interference beforehand that caused Ehlers to be out of position, which then caused him to dive and make up for that loss of position. That I think he was mad at. I'm not sure if that's the case, but that's what I interpreted it as. But yeah, tough penalty to take. It creeps over into overtime, and then it ends up being a 4-on-3. Adam Lowry and Mike Matheson both get coincidental minors. Lowry for cross-checking, Matheson for closing his hand on the puck. Lowry was not happy with that call. And then it remains a 4-on-3 in overtime, and Justin Barron wins the game. But you just can't take a penalty in that spot if you're Nikolai Ehlers. But I want to see a replay on whether or not there was an interference call missed prior to Ehlers diving and taking out the defender's legs.
Yeah, there was 100% a call miss. He got picked. This isn't basketball here where you can just plant your feet and pick. I don't think it was. I think it was a moving pick. Look, Ehlers, he played tough. He didn't sell the call, I thought, at the end of the third from Savard. He kept going, and then he kept going with this. Like, it's tough when you don't know what they're going to call the rules. And, I'm not blaming. I think I tweeted it out, and someone's like, well, the Jets wouldn't have scored on a power play anyway. I'm like, I don't care if they would have scored or not. I care about watching a game and want to be able to know what the rules are. And Ehlers was interfered with. They didn't call it, and so he has to take a dive because he's so far out of position. He had to dive to stop the defenseman from walking into the slot all alone. And they got a penalty, and then you're in overtime. It's a tough break. So they go to overtime, and yeah, Lowry, as you mentioned, starts cross-checking Matheson. That was... Yeah. So he closed his hand on the puck there and got a penalty, but when Josh Anderson did it, when he threw the puck to Dvorak, that wasn't closing hand on the puck. And yeah, Barron walks in all alone. I mean, good play for them, and good for Montreal, and nice win for them. I think the Jets probably not happy with parts of the second, not capitalizing on the power play, the penalty kill, but I think you're kind of annoyed at the result, but at least you got a point and you can move on to the next one. The Jets still 14-5-1 in their last 20. You're not going to win every game. Certainly disappointing the way they end, especially with so many Montreal fans cheering at Canada Life Center after the game. Is that accurate?
Yes. As I was walking down to do the player interviews, I heard an Ole chant from the Canadiens faithful. They were stoked about this win. This is a huge win for them. The Jets, like you said, they're playing good hockey right now. I'm almost willing to dismiss this game because of what I saw in the LA and Colorado games. Like, those games were so impressive. And this game, yeah, you lose, but it's an overtime game. Could they have played better? Absolutely. The power play needs work. But we got to remember what happened over the weekend, and that's and into last week. And they beat a bona fide playoff team on the road in LA. They beat them 5-2, 5 unanswered goals. Colorado, albeit without Cale Makar, made them look how this game should have looked against the Montreal Canadiens. But yeah, it's a tough loss. You get a point out of it, and you can move on. There's 2 games before the holiday break. Maybe Laurent Brossoit gets the start Wednesday. Maybe they continue with Connor Hrabchak because they lost this game. We'll have to wait and see on Wednesday morning skate for that. But yeah, I think the Jets are playing good hockey right now, and this was just a tough loss to a young team that has the opportunity to showcase skill and have a game like this where they can steal one on the road against a playoff team.
Yeah, this was a letdown game for the Jets. It was certainly a winnable game. I thought Montreal's goals, you could argue the second one shouldn't have counted, and the first one, a total bounce where, if you're playing NHL on Xbox, you're throwing the controller, just like you can't catch a break. Not that they were playing amazing, but I think there are definitely concerns about special teams. They just did not help the Jets tonight. 0 for 2 on the power play, 1 for 3 on the penalty kill. This is their 5th consecutive game giving up a power play goal, and that's tough when you're not scoring on the power play. 1 for 16 in the last 5, and you're giving one up. So every game, you're negative. We talk about what the turnover differential in football. This is the special teams differential, and it's not going the Jets' way. They're going to have to get that turned around. What is helping them? They play great at 5-on-5, and they have great goaltending as well. So they move on. You get the point. Move on. Boston Wednesday. We'll wait and see what happens with Josh Morrissey's face. Certainly some concern there. I'm probably going to be very purple at the skate tomorrow. Final thoughts here?
Like you said, yeah, winnable game. It's definitely a letdown for Winnipeg. They definitely should have won this game. You look at the standings, you look at the odds, what should have happened tonight. But yeah, I thought it was a great game. I mean, the first period was a snoozer, but Justin Barron scores the OT winner against his brother, who was actually at the top of the triangle on the penalty kill. So right in front of his brother. I thought that was a really cool moment. And yeah, I mean, it was a huge win for the Canadiens. And Original 6 week continues. So there will continue to be lots of fans of the opposing team coming in on Wednesday against Detroit. Not as many as Montreal. I doubt they have as many Winnipeg-rooted fans, but yeah, Detroit, Boston, expect to see some of the opposition's crowds.
Yeah, always when Original 6 come to town, should be a great week. I love games around the holidays. So, Connor, thank you so much for joining me here on the Winnipeg Sports Talk post-game report. Give Connor a follow on Twitter, Connor Hrabchak 1. Follow me on Twitter, Remis, Winnipeg Sports Talk WPG. And if you've made it this far, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Really helps us tell YouTube we're putting out great content. Might show it to some more people who don't know what we're doing here. Connor, thanks again so much for joining me. Looking forward to seeing everyone else on, 1 p.m. Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily every day on YouTube and later on podcast. Connor, thanks again and have a great evening.